Welcome back, podcast family. This is your host, Dre LLC, and this is the No Name Just Game podcast. I am here with Ms. Ludora Cooper. She is a licensed real estate agent, owner and broker of her own real estate firm. She is a licensed general contractor. She sold over 100 plus homes. And she has experience in local leadership's position among different real estate boards and associations. So I want to say thank you for being here with us. And you guys, this is going to be a great episode. So how are you doing today, Ms. Cooper?
I am doing great. Thank you for having me. I'm glad to be here. Looking forward to the podcast interview and sharing my story.
100%. Thank you for coming. I think it's going to be a great episode.
Absolutely.
So first, let's just start with how are you doing today?
Oh, it's wonderful. Hey, I done started my day with contracts in the email and properties being shown. So yeah, we're moving people forward with their housing goals.
100%. So a very productive day already so far.
Thus far, it definitely has. And so this is the highlight. I'm happy to be here and looking forward to this.
Oh, it's definitely the highlight of my day as well because real estate is a very interesting field. We're definitely going to go into your background and things like that. But I want to ask a question off the top because when you look at across all of the wealthy portfolio, and this is the very wealthy, so 100 plus millionaires, billionaires, that level of wealth, they all have real estate in their portfolio.
100%.
Why do you think that is? Why do you think real estate is such a staple in the rich and wealthy portfolio?
Well, if I could put it in economic terms for you, real estate is a hedge against inflation.
Okay.
As little as that is known. And so you've got billionaires, Bill Gates, all the other Warren Buffett's type of billionaire status people that see the portfolio as having real estate in there because real estate is solid. People are always going to need housing. It's not going to go anywhere. Yes, it goes through cycles and the values go up and down, but for the most part, real estate is a solid investment and people turn over that investment and they, leverage it and they're keeping their money going. And so it's very solid, especially if you compare it to the stocks and things and, the stock market, nobody has control over.
100%.
But real estate the equity tends to build in that on a stable level.
100%. Okay. So would you say real estate for a beginning entrepreneur, because like we said, the higher level entrepreneurs is such a staple in their portfolio. Do you think real estate is a good place to start for most people? Or do you think as you're already accumulating the wealth in, say, another business or another venture, real estate is like a place that you multiply your wealth?
It could be both because I think it depends on the individual and what their goals are. For instance, if you're on a 9-to-5 and you've been there for some time, you've got a nice 401k built up. And you know that you may be, embarking upon retirement in the next 10 to 15 years. So you're looking at, hey, I need this money to multiply, or I want to leverage my savings or my, investment for my retirement. So a lot of times buying real estate is a tax-free type of investment. And so if you buy it right, because that's the thing about real estate, you make your money on the buy. So you have to buy it right at the right price and get that discount. Then you see the return on the back end.
Okay.
So that's really important to understand. But yeah, for people that's on a 9-to-5 or just thinking about, hey, I want to, get in as an investor. I want to get with some investment groups. I want to learn how to buy homes, even with no money down, because you don't always have to have money to do real estate. Trust me, it's a lot of strategies out there for attaining housing. And so you don't need a real estate license. As little as that's known, you do not have to have a real estate license to control how you build your real estate wealth or your knowledge. You just have to rub elbows and talk to the right groups, get in the right rooms, and they'll tell you how to do it.
Oh, wow. That's amazing. So somebody can get into real estate with no real estate license and no money?
Absolutely. Yes, there are ways that you can attain housing, help a family out, you'll have situations out here, believe it or not, where people just want to walk away 100%. From their property.
Oh, really?
And so we try to counsel them into what's best. Like, hey, don't give your property just back to the bank. First of all, the bank don't want it back. That's number one. Mm-hmm. Bank don't want a bunch of houses sitting around because that's not making any money on their books. Mm-hmm. And so there's other options for families or people that's in distress, whether that's sickness, divorce, or whatever it may be. There are other options out there for transferring that asset. And then that's where a lot of investors are able to come in and give a family relief. Maybe they need money to move because they really can't maintain their house. And so there's a lot of options on the investment side for people to get help that way without walking away with nothing.
100%, 100%.
And you just have to learn how that's done, and you don't need a real estate license for that.
Okay. So more so the people who are coming into real estate, is that a common occurrence? Are more people starting with no money and no real estate license, or more people coming in with large amounts of capital coming in and or the real estate license?
I don't know on the non-licensed side. I mean, I will tell you, since the pandemic, a lot of people got into
more people
real estate
are doing it
because a lot of folks were moving. And we sold record number of homes during the pandemic. And that's crazy, because you're thinking about a world pandemic. It's a health, crisis. People are dying. But to think that we sold a record number of homes, I think that speaks to the larger problems that in isolation, people wanted their own space. They didn't want to be in an apartment with somebody walking above them and below them. Then you got to figure people were working at home. So working from home or remote work made people feel like I need a better space. And so all of those things played a part into us selling a record number of homes, which brought a lot of people into it from the licensing standpoint, because I think they thought it was easy. And they said it's a lot of money in it.
100%.
And it is some money. It is good money in it. I don't want to lie to you, but it's not easy as people think it is.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. So yeah, we're definitely going to be able to get into that a lot deeper. But first I want to go back to the beginning. So we said you have 23 years in real estate. How did you get started? What made you interested in getting started in real estate?
Hey, I'm happy that you asked, because this may be a little bit of some other people's story out there. So when I got licensed back in 2000, I was a newly divorced single mom. And so I was working as a senior administrative assistant for the athletic director at Christian Brothers University. But becoming newly divorced, I knew that I needed additional income as a single lady, because I wasn't married any longer. So I was what you call a dual agent, meaning I had a career, but I did get my real estate license. Real estate to me was something that I could schedule my own time. Again, I had 2 young children under 10. And so being a mom is really important, especially when you got children that young. And I needed to be able to schedule my time that I could work. Keep in mind, I already got the 9 to 5. And so I needed to be able to learn real estate at my pace, but to build a foundation where I could have a solid income and move into it full time. And that's exactly what happened. And that's what I saw real estate as being, that vehicle that would take me into my entrepreneurship at a full-time level. And that's exactly what happened.
Okay. So you said this was back in
2000.
2000.
Yeah, when I got licensed.
Okay. What are some of the main changes that you see in the real estate game from now and then?
Oh, man. I mean, number one, technology, because I mean, the internet didn't play a big part as back then as it does now. I mean, now we know from our National Association of Realtor statistics that 80% of people looking for homes, they start their search on the internet. And so back in 2000, when the internet wasn't that prevalent, or you didn't have all these other third-party sites, people had to call us, or you had to get a referral from your cousin or your brother and say, hey, who did you use? And so that made the business a little more easier to me, or in my eyes at that time, it seemed to be, because we weren't competing on the internet for those buyers, and the real estate hadn't taken over quite like it has now. I would say that's the biggest change, is technology. And sadly, unfortunately, unfortunately, however you want to put it, it keeps evolving, and it keeps making us have to step up what we're doing. So it's just never ending. It stops. It's just never. It's always learning and a growing process with this, because technology doesn't stop.
100%.
Now, we've got AI into the field, AI into the game. There's some nice things happening with AI that helps us to, really get answers and develop content and creation a lot more faster. You just type in a question, you got answers and options. So I love it from that standpoint. But again, I think it's going to move a lot of the older people out that don't want to learn. They don't want to go over that learning curve to do all that. And they remember how they sold real estate back then. So some people are probably going to move out the way, because technology ain't slowing down.
100%. 100%. So, okay, we talked about a few things off camera that I really want to get into when it comes to statistics and stuff. But first, I want to stay on your journey. Okay. So how is the real estate game for the entrepreneur? Is it usually a steady flow? Is it like usually like deals are pretty much steady throughout the year? Is it like I can give you an example. In my field, like I've been in the coaching space and helping entrepreneurs and things like that for probably 3 or 4 years at least on the low end. And at the beginning of the year, everybody is excited about becoming a new person. Like everybody want to get into
New
coaching.
Year's resolutions.
100%. New year, new them. You know what I mean?
Right.
So in January, like you really want to have your stuff together because business is coming.
Certainly.
Is it like that in real estate, or is it pretty much the same amount of people want to buy houses in January and February and all the way to December?
Well, as far as the demand for housing, I think that is a steady stream. I think we have our peak seasons, like the summertime is our peak season. Well, you got to think school is out. Families want to move and relocate while school is out. It's hard to do that while children in school.
100%.
So yeah, the summertime is our peak time as far as people buying homes. Coming into the business, new licensees or people looking to get into it, they're doing that year round. Yeah. And so social media has definitely played a part into people jumping into real estate because it looks easy. 100%. It looks so easy. They people taking pictures with their keys and they sold sign, but you don't know what it took to get there. And so I think that's what a lot of people end up finding out, that this is really a real grind and a real hustle. As I was sharing with you on the statistics sides from the National Association, over 50% of new agents retire that license in the first year. Now that's a high statistic.
100%.
So now that goes to tell you either they find out they don't have the chops for it, they can't stomach it, or they find out I can't keep up with the fees. But I have to be honest with you, school doesn't prepare you for the real world experience.
100%.
School prepares you to pass a test. Once you pass the test, you can throw that book to the side because you're not going to use it. The real world experience is something totally different. And I think that's what shocks people because now they feel like I got to really do some work. 100%. And it's not as easy as they thought, not to mention you're having to come into a market where you're competing with 4,000 other agents out here. So it's very competitive.
Oh, really? So if it was one thing that you think makes most real estate or that 50% hang their license up in that first year, what would you say if you had to attribute it to one thing? What's the one thing that most people getting into real estate aren't prepared for?
I would say the fees. To me, that's the biggest thing. Because, as long as it ain't costing you, you'll ride it out. But no, we're a part of an industry that requires us to pay fees. And so if you're not selling a house, as I tell people, this becomes a very expensive hobby. And that's going to usually, when your pocket get tapped out, you can tap out.
So what are the fees for? Are they like fees for licenses or are they?
Well, we're required to be a part of the association, the Memphis Area Association of Realtors. If you're a licensee here, you're required to be a part of that board. And they have quarterly fees as a member. So that's what that's for. Also, the MLS is one of our largest website platforms that people search for homes on, and the realtors push out our homes. Because when we push out our homes, you got people like Zillow getting our homes. You got Realtor.com. You see, if you wonder where those houses come from, they come from our MLS feed. That's where we share houses for other realtors, and we make appointments and show people from our own proprietary information. But the third-party handlers, like Zillow, again, they're getting our houses and they're advertising it. So there's fees to be a member and pay for that, whole association access to that information. That's where the fees come in at. And it's a quarterly thing. So do sites, third parties like that, have sites like Zillow been more of a help or a hindrance to the real estate game for real estate agents? In some ways, I wouldn't say a hindrance, but we've had to push back on the access of information that they're getting from us because, again, it's our houses that they're advertising on their sites. And up until recent, like, for instance, if a house I have out there is for sale on Zillow wasn't even pushing a person back to me, and it's my home. They was pushing it to an agent that was paying them to advertise on their platform. Oh, wow. So we had to push back on that and say, hey, no, this is our listing. This is my house that I'm marketing. If you're going to give any lead back out, they need to come directly to me. So they did change how they gave credit to the listing agent, the person that's bringing the home to the market. They did recently change that because, that wasn't fair to take our information. Because you got a person here paying you to advertise, you let them. If somebody said you want to know more about this house, they're getting a phone call, not the person that's providing this information. So we've had to really fight for just our whole stance and protect that, that's our information. You're marketing off of our stuff. So yeah, it's been a struggle with that. But like I said, they've come around. Now they really direct those people back to the agent that brought the property to the market. Yeah. So it's changed.
Okay. So how recent is that change? Is that
I
like
would say within the last year.
Oh wow.
That our properties now, if people push a button, they're gonna call us on our houses.
So how long has Zillow been around? Because I know they've been around for a lot longer than a year. So how long?
Oh yeah, I would. Oh, Zillow. Maybe 10, 15 years or so. I'm not exactly sure on the exact date, but over 10 years.
So somewhere between 9 and 14 years, like you could post a house on Zillow and they send the listing to another real estate agent.
No, Zillow some kind of way paid for access to our system to pull our houses off our system onto their site.
Oh, so you don't even have to
ask us nothing.
So you didn't even have to post a house on Zillow.
No, sir. We don't post nothing on Zillow. Remember, we're paying fees to our association for this website, this platform. Zillow has some kind of way got an agreement with them that they'll advertise our houses to so-called give us more exposure on their site. So no, I don't post anything to Zillow. They're pulling it from our proprietary site.
Oh.
And that's not just Zillow. We keep talking about Zillow, but we're talking about Redfin. I know you've heard of them. Realtor.com. And some of the other third-party sites, they all pull from our MLS, which is called a multiple listing service. They all pull it from there. And so we want to get credit for our advertising because
100%.
We're marketing. We pay for professional photos. You using our stuff. So we want to get credit for that.
100%. 100%. Oh, wow. I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
So what are some of the other like pitfalls and stuff like that people don't know about real estate that when you get into the real estate game, you have to figure out how to navigate?
I don't know if it's pitfalls, but I think something that becomes a rude awakening to a lot of newbies is that you find out that people that know you, your friends, and perhaps some of your family members, they don't want you to know their business. So they're not going to use you. And that's going to hurt at first because you're going to be like, well, I know them. They knew I had a license. They know I'm trying to build my business. How come they didn't come to me? And you have to really understand it's something about their personal information they don't want you to know. And you and the family, you the cousin, it's just something they don't want you to know. And people will not do business with you that know you.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's a shocker. And that's something you have to get over. And it happens across the board. I've talked to realtors across the country. It happens to all of us. And you can't take it personally. You have to understand that person wants to keep their information private. They feel like you may talk or tell if it's family, whatever. So they're going to go use someone else. And that sometimes hurt initially.
That's wild.
Yeah.
And don't real estate agents like make a commission on the houses and stuff, every house they sell?
Oh, absolutely.
So they'll go get their commission to somebody else.
Then they help you. Right. Then they help you feed your family.
Personal information.
Something about their information they don't want you to know. And that does happen.
That's crazy.
It is, Maybe if it was a car washing business and you ain't got to know their business, they'll let you wash their car.
100%.
But when you're talking about credit and banking and what they qualify for, they don't want you to know, and so they won't use you. So that's a real eye-opener.
Does that happen more often than not? Like, do more of your family and friends and stuff go other places because they don't want you to know their personal information, or was that more of an exception to the rule?
Maybe an exception. It doesn't happen frequently. I have to say I'm thankful and grateful that my people, my family and friends in a circle, they have trusted me to guide them. Because to be quite honest, they could ask me questions. They may not feel comfortable asking somebody else, and they know they can just ask me and call me off the cuff, and I'm gonna give it to them, the way it is. So I'm thankful for that type of relationship with my family and inner circle, that they have trusted me to guide them. They didn't feel like it was something they didn't want me to know for the most part. But sometimes it happens, cousin or somebody else may say, well, I ain't gonna call her. And again, you can't take it personally. It's just what's in their head.
It's crazy.
It happens. Trust me, it happens.
It's crazy. Okay, so give me one like positive and negative, crazy thing, unexpected thing that happened in the real estate game.
Positive and a negative. Well, so the positive, of course, is always working with the client, family, or individual, whoever it is, and helping them walk through that process and get to the end of their goal. Because you know that they've shared with you what their needs are, where they're trying to be, in 2 or 3 months, if they got a lease that's coming up, or, if they've got a life change, they got to move, they got to relocate, we got to sell our condo, we need to be here. Or I want to come from downtown to Germantown, helping them get to the end of the process and meeting their goal. And that they're satisfied, they feel like they got a good deal, they feel like their money was spent wisely, and that you guided them in a prompt and a professional way. That's the most gratifying feeling that you can get, because that's always the goal, is to get people there and to handle them correctly. Surprisingly negative thing, I guess. I mean, after 23 years, I don't know if I'm surprised anymore. But you will have people that you've already kind of educated them on a process, and we tell them, don't go, once you're approved and we looking for a house, and once we get under contract, don't go do anything with your credit. Don't go buy no refrigerator. You can't buy nothing until we close. Surprisingly, you'll have people that'll go out and say, yeah, but I needed a stove. Now they credit score to drop. And see, what they don't know, or they should know, because we tell you in the beginning, they're going to pull your credit again before we go to the closing table. You need to maintain that same credit score. You cannot go out and make a big purchase. You cannot go up and drive your credit cards high because shopping. Don't try to help somebody or co-sign because you're finna kill this deal. And sometimes it happens after you've warned people and you don't work that hard. And they miss it just like that because they made a decision that they could have waited. That happens.
So how
or change jobs.
Oh wow.
Thinking that I'm going for more money. Yeah, but the underwriter verified you right here. They don't want to see you do nothing until you sign these papers. And we tell people that. But you'll have people that'll go out and make these big changes and it'll kill the deal.
Oh wow. So even a change of job, not just affects to your credit, can affect the deal.
It certainly can. And especially if you move from a different field to what you was in. Oh yeah. All that's got to be verified again. You ain't been there long. If it wasn't a continuous thing and you had a lapse in employment because you took a vacation in between that, that's called a lapse. They don't want to see that. And so some people think that they can do these things, or they'll say, understand, you are going into the house where you're going to need to stove, but you cannot do it before you sign those papers because it's going to pull on that credit. And that sometimes shocks us that people do that after we've told them don't do nothing.
Yeah. So how long is that process usually from the time that the deal, you guys start looking into the deal? So you said they, like, when they first pull their credit to closing.
Oh, well, when initially you're getting pre-approved, well, we got to get out here and find a house. It could take us 6 weeks, 5 weeks, 8 weeks, depending. And right now, with us having such a low inventory market and a shortage of homes, it's taking us a little bit. And then not only that, because we have such a low inventory, but unfortunately, a lot of times if there's a nice house coming out, you finna bid. You finna bid against somebody else. You finna bid against 4 or 5 other people. That's complicated. And you may lose that bid if you don't come very, very strong. And, depending on your financial situation, you can only come as strong as you can come. So if you lose the bid, that just prolongs our time of looking, unfortunately.
So is there like an average time?
Well, if we're looking 5 or 6 weeks, I'll say once we find a house, go under contract. Normally, once you go under contract, you're going to be closing or finalizing a deal within 30 to 45 days, typically. That's your closing window. Okay. And we tell them, hey, once we do this and the underwriter's looking at everything, you done send in some more bank statements and check stubs. They trying to make sure you haven't changed anything. Don't do nothing. We tell them that. Don't do nothing. Don't go charge nothing. Don't go co-sign for nobody. Don't change job. Don't do nothing because they finna check everything that they had checked originally on you. They checked it again at the end. But sometimes people don't listen. And then they be like, but I didn't think this was going to hurt. This pull on your credit. Yeah, it did. Now you can't get the house. Now we done did all that work and we don't get paid. So, But more importantly, they don't get the house. Again, people have to listen to us and really let us guide them. And they have to understand this is a financial decision, and the bank wants to make sure that you're creditworthy and that you're financially stable. But they need to see it all the way through these 30 days that you haven't done anything. And so that's the importance of understanding that. And sometimes when it happens, we be like, how? I told you not to. And then they so hurt and upset that they ain't finna get the house. But it's like, we told you. You can't change. So that's something that, is kind of unsettling and you never get used to. But, I mean, we've seen it happen, so it's not like we know it can't happen. We're not shocked when it does. But you hate it for the individual because now they sit back. Now you got to get back in your lease, or now you can't buy. Or the owner, your credit score maybe dropped 10 points. That's not a lot. But that person with that house ain't not finna wait for you to get back up 10 points. You just done lost that house.
Mm-hmm.
And then you got to start over. So that can be a little disheartening.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
happens.
is that a common occurrence, or is that maybe every so often?
Maybe every so often. It's not common. Like, it don't happen every month. Most people listen to you and they do what you say. And not only are they listening to you, but they're listening to the person that's doing their financing. Because again, as the realtor, my job is to search for you a home. I'm going to show you. We're going to go out and tour homes. You got to walk through it. We got to see if everything's right. We're going to do inspections. That's my lane. I don't do the financing part. I ain't checking your bank stub, your bank statements and your check stub. That's what the loan officer does. So they run in their lane and they're telling you what they need. And they're telling you what you got to do and what you can't do. They really telling you. So it's up to you to make a decision that, you know what, 30 days to the finish line, I'm finna just stay steady. I ain't finna do nothing. Sign these papers, get my keys. Hey, get your U-Haul truck, do whatever you're going to do, but just got to sign these papers. Everything got to stay steady till you sign off on that deal.
100%, 100%. So, do you mind talking numbers on here? Can we talk numbers on?
It's okay, yeah.
Okay, so I know pretty much nothing about the real estate game, so all of this is very valuable to me. So my first question, is there like a set rate on the commission? Is it like always 10% of the house? Is it depending on, like, what does that depend on?
I mean, it can be different. Like for instance, people in the commercial field, then their commission rates are they're different from ours. Sometimes they don't even say what they are. Oh, really? They don't have to, right? So theirs is going to be different. It fluctuates. I may say typically it's higher than what we sell because my focus is single family residential homes. That's the majority of my business, and typically, we have commissions that could range from 2.5% to 3% in that field. We're not really supposed to discuss commissions, but typically that's where it's going to fall. Okay. Generally, 3% is what you're getting off of a house, the price of a home.
Okay. And
as a buyer, you're not really coming out of pocket with that. You're not paying our commission. The seller is. So whoever's selling their house, they're paying their agent and your agent. So the buyer don't pay us.
Okay.
Yeah, the seller, whoever's selling the house pays us. Yeah, so that's something people need to understand.
Okay, and you said you more so on the personal side, not the commercial side of real estate.
My personal single family.
I apologize.
Yeah, no, that's okay. Yeah, single family residential. Okay. Is the biggest of my sales, the bulk of my sales.
Okay, so when it comes to single family residential, could you say what the highest deal was that you've done a single family for? Like the
you're saying over 20 some years. Because the market's been up and the market's been down. So probably if I had to think, there's some in Collierville that I've had back in the day. They may have been 600,000, a little over $500,000.
Okay, that's
been a while. I mean, typically right now our average median sales price in this area is running like 240.
Okay,
so I mean, but you can sell over that if somebody wants to buy a home over that, but that's where our median price is falling. Yeah. So, but we've had some, a few that were $500,000 that were in Germantown and Collierville. Yeah,
100%, 100%. So, would you say the price? Well, I know it's dependent on like where you are. Like, I know real estate in LA is a lot more expensive than real estate here.
Most definitely.
Do you say that's the biggest thing that determines prices? Do you think it's more so home, neighborhood? What do you think more so is the most important thing when it comes to real estate pricing?
Well, first of all, pricing is based on supply and demand. And if you don't understand that whole concept, when the demand is high, then that, like it is now. So we got a high demand, but guess what? We got a low supply. So demand high, supply low. What that's going to do? Drive the price up because ain't enough supply. On the inverse of that, when the supply is high, we got a lot of houses, but we don't have the demand, prices come down. That's a buyer's market. We ain't seen that in quite a while. Because again, new construction has not kept pace with demand, and we're not turning over enough houses for people that's really want them. We don't have enough inventory. And that's like on a 15-year low. I don't know how we would catch up with that, but the demand right now is keeping the prices high because the supply is low, unfortunately.
Okay.
That's what determines price.
Okay. So,
but also supply and demand, but also your city. Memphis has a really low cost of living as compared to some cities.
100%.
And so that's going to determine pricing as well. Like houses here are lower than prices in Atlanta. Again, Atlanta is a little more upperly mobile place, and the houses prices are a lot higher there. You got people making more money there. So that's going to determine a lot of things depending on where you live.
Okay. So I want to kind of flip the page back to more of the process of things like that. If you were to be able to talk to your younger self, and your younger self was going to get started in real estate today, you could get one piece of information like to get started. What would that one piece be?
Man, that's good. And I always think about that sometimes because I hear people ask themselves that. And I would say something I wish I had been told or something I wish I had did when I first started was got and sat down with a CPA. You need the CPA to tell you how to structure your business. Because trust me, making money comes with paying taxes. And so, you don't always want to have to pay the man a high tax bill at the end of the year. So you need to understand how your business need to be structured, whether that's a sole proprietor, that's a LLC, whether that's a corporation that may pay lower taxes. Understanding that whole principle and concept is going to help you set the foundation for your business going forward and perhaps save you some tax problems down the road or having a high tax bill. That is something I wish I had known and understood and did initially if I had to say something to my younger self. Yeah.
So is it a common occurrence? Is that a common trip up for people when they getting started in the real estate field? The finance or the business side is not 100% where it could be?
That's a common problem for entrepreneurs, period. It ain't related to real estate. And unfortunately, a lot of us, and I mean us as in, minorities, we don't have the information. Maybe we don't know that we need to seek out this information. And years down the road, we can find ourselves in some tax trouble because we didn't know that we needed to structure our business in such a way that our taxes would even, we can reduce the taxes through a corporation or, and also having the protection of an LLC because people will sue you. So again, having the value and the feedback from a CPA really sets you up in a lot of ways. Now, as a real estate licensed professional, you do have to have what they call E&O, insurance, errors and omissions, because you got to have some insurance because, in case somebody going to sue you because people like to sue. So as a part of holding a license, you're required to have this like a type of liability insurance we call E&O. And again, the CPA still can help you decide to what degree you're going to run your business, to what are your long-term goals 3 to 5 years. If that's what your plans are, this is probably how you need to set your business up.
100%.
Yeah. And I think that's important because finding it out as you go and finding it out on the back end, you're going to pay for it. And that's across the board. Trucking companies, all other entrepreneurs. And I'm glad you brought that up because let me give you a prime example of the downfall of not knowing. Barbers, beauticians, they get paid a lot of what? Cash. And unfortunately, with cash, guess what? You can write your income to whatever you say it was. Down low, write it off. But when you come to buy a house and you said you only made $20,000 last year, guess what? You ain't finna qualify for too much because you done wrote down your money. That gets people every time. They be like, I ain't want the tax bill. I understand, but guess what? Now, because you ain't want a tax bill, you don't look like you made no money. So you see what I'm saying? The bank don't know how to lend you on 20. So that's another thing we tell people. If you're going to buy a house and you're self-employed, because now we're talking about being self-employed, you got to know that you got to show your income on your taxes because that's what the bank is going to qualify you on. If you're writing it off down to zero because you don't want to pay any taxes, you ain't going to be able to buy what you want. That's just a fact. And again, having the right CPA and tax person on your team is going to really help you to avoid some pitfalls that way. But even for qualifying for what you want, you need to know how you need to look. Again, we as entrepreneurs don't seem to sometimes get the information or know how we need to present on paper.
And you said, so I just want to spin back on a couple terms. You said E&O. What does E&O stand for?
Errors and omissions.
Errors and omissions. And just for the audience, CPA?
The tax person.
Okay. Certified public accountant.
Yes, definitely in the beginning.
Yeah.
Because they're going to tell you, first of all, being a business owner, entrepreneur, whatever that is, whether it's real estate or whatever, you get a lot of tax write-offs because some of your expenses, your fees, your supplies, you're going to write that off on your taxes. But again, That's fine, especially when you're trying to buy nothing.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're trying to purchase things or increase your credit line, you have to show your income. And sometimes that's going to cost you a little tax money. But you want to be able to move and scale and grow your business the way you need to. Now, if you're steady and you're saying, hey, man, I'm not going to do anything in the next 2 or 3 years, no large purchases, but I want to be able to write these expenses off, bring my tax bracket down, they'll got you. And that's what the tax person does. So it's definitely good to have a good tax experienced professional on your team as you start, because taxes are serious and people get in trouble with taxes.
100%. 100%. So we spoke briefly off camera. You were saying that certain real estate transactions are tax-free events. I believe I could be. Or you said
I said if you're gonna use money from your 401k.
Okay.
Like if you have a job and you're building a 401k, you can buy a home without a tax penalty. You can borrow from that to buy a home without a tax penalty from your 401k.
Okay. Do people do that often, or most people don't know that?
Well, in some cases, if they don't have enough funds saved up, they'll tap into their 401k on the job, and then that's good because I mean your home is a great investment, and hopefully it's going to grow, and so to borrow from your 401k is a good thing if you have it. Absolutely.
Okay. Yeah, that was something I haven't heard too often. So I definitely
people don't know that, and people don't talk about it, but that's definitely an avenue if you haven't saved enough money up. You should 401k on the job.
So if somebody was looking to get into real estate, what are like the normal steps people should look to take?
Well, I mean, whatever is driving them, their interest into real estate, I would say, go and talk to some people, interview different companies to see, what they offer, how they're going to help you, grow your business, and just even understanding the whole world of real estate. Because again, that classroom and that book is not telling you about the real world. And I say, to people, the dream is free, but the hustle is sold separately. You still got to get out here and you got to hustle and you find out what that's all about. So, like I say, it's a low entry to real estate. You're just taking a 60-hour course, which they have real estate schools for that. And then you go and take the state test and get your license. So that part is easy. It's once you pass the test and getting established and getting started that you really get out here and go, oh, they didn't tell me that in real estate school. Oh, I got these fees. They ain't tell me that. See, that's another thing. You need to understand what the fees are to get started, because there are getting started fees. You need to know what that is, because you need to, try to put that aside or be prepared to pay it. And so, again, I think that's a pitfall for a lot of people, and why so many people end up giving their license up in the first year because they're just not prepared.
Okay, so we did briefly speak on fees. What would be another one of those things that coming right out, like you would want newer people into the game to understand? Or one of those things that, like you said, you just weren't prepared for based on going through training in the book testing?
Well, I would say to anyone new that would be venturing into real estate or thinking about getting into it, technology keeps changing. And so it's just a thing that you're going to have to accept and keep up with. Because trust me, technology today ain't what it was 10, 15 years ago. It's going to keep changing. You have to keep up with the technological changes for real estate. But more importantly, is having a solid foundation to get started. You need the right business systems in place as you're starting to grow and bring on clients. You need a database to track those people and to nurture those people. And so those people will refer business to you. A lot of people don't get started with their database. And I don't know if that's a lack of not knowing or going to a company where they don't really teach you that. And that can really hinder you and get you off to a slow start. So having systems in place, whether it's your email marketing is huge, because that's really what it's about. You have to stay in front of people. You have to keep your name out there. This business is about lead generation. If you can't generate leads, you're not going to make no money. And again, I just told you it was highly competitive.
100%.
4,000 people licensed in this city.
So what are some of the things that you can do to stay competitive? What are some of the best ways you've seen to generate leads?
You got to up your marketing game. You got to stay visible. I mean, how will somebody know you're a real estate agent if you're not talking about it? You know what I mean? You ain't posting about it. How will they know? They're not. So they're going to go to whoever's out there, who's the loudest, who they see, who's showing that they're giving people keys, who's putting a sign up, who said, oh, look at this beautiful house I have over here. That's who gets the business. It's whoever can be the loudest on the marketing side. Honestly, you got to be visible. Because again, I just told you, don't count on your friends and family.
Mm-hmm.
They ain't gonna jump you off right like you think they are. So
100%.
don't you ain't gonna be able to count on them. You got to start with a whole new batch of friends and people that want to get to know you.
Mm-hmm. Okay, it's definitely great. Okay, so getting started into real estate, you said you want to go find some people and companies that are doing the style of real estate that you want to get into, correct?
Well, just interviewing them to see if they're a fit for you.
Okay.
Right. So, when you get licensed, you'll say, okay, this company here, I think I really line up. Their vision and what they're offering lines up with what I need and what I can get with, or it's a good environment in here. They're giving training to the new agents because new agents need training.
Yeah, 100%.
They're not just pushing me off over here to tell me get on this online course, but they're really kind of, taking me step by step initially. They're giving me those foundational systems that I need to have in place to grow my database, to grow my marketing, to how I need to appear so that people can find me. They're giving me these foundational tools to get my business off to a good start. Yes, you need to find a company that's going to provide that in the beginning.
100%. So
whether that's a big box company, medium company, or a boutique company, you have to identify that. My company is what we call a boutique because it's small and it's catered to, individuals. I'm not a big box company. Like when I say big box, Keller Williams, Remax, those household names that are all over the country. Then you got mid-sized firms as well.
Okay. So I guess my question would be, would real estate kind of be in an industry that is individual? So like, with real estate being a field to where it's usually, and I could be wrong, but typically what I've seen in real estate is usually one agent selling the house. Does that make the game like very cutthroat? Does it make it harder to find mentors and things because they know if you get competitive in the market and really get to selling homes, there's less homes for them to sell? Or is it usually easy to find people who would teach you the game and things like that?
Well, yeah, I would say it's easy to find people that will mentor you. Let me tell you something. People that's getting a bag, they ain't worried about no new person coming into this business because they already driving a lane. So don't ever think, he's scared to show me something because he finna think I'm finna get his money. No, you're not. You got some catching up to do.
100%.
That ain't it. I'll never feel that way about a new agent because I'm thinking they don't know what they don't know because they just starting. So no, you just have to find the right person that's willing to spend time, that has that heart of a teacher, that says, you know what, let me help this person. It can be mutually beneficial. Hey, for instance, I need you to come out. I want you to hold this open house for me. Let me show you how to hold an open house. That's important. That's good training for you to get hands-on with an agent that says, let me show you how to hold this open house. Next house I get, you run the open house because guess what's going to happen? Anybody that comes in there that doesn't have an agent, that's a lead for you because they let you work it. They're not saying, hey, call me. That's my person. That's a lead for you. So working open houses can be lead generations for you and potential clients. And then so there's a lot of agents that's busy that they don't mind you doing that. No, you just have to find the right people.
100%.
Yeah, that still happens.
Okay. So when you got started, how long did it take you to find your first deal?
To make my first sale? Well, not probably, I think I want to say maybe closer to 4 months, 5 months, somewhere in there. Because now, again, remember I had a regular 9 to 5 and I had two young kids under 10. And so really just trying to get my legs under me and learn the business was not hard because I would spend weekends and evenings doing it. And going to the office and being around the people in the environment of folks that's doing it. So that's going to help speed you along. But probably maybe for 4 months, I would say, into the business before I got the first deal.
Is that common? Is that quick? Is that...
They say that most typically new agents get their first deal within 6 months. It can take, but then that's not always the case. Some do it less. Some do it in 2 months. It depends on who you know. Who you know, and are you talking to those people? That's the thing. So
the quickest way to speed up, if you had to give one thing, the quickest way to speed up your journey in real estate, you would say is find somebody who's doing what you want to do and learn from them?
Absolutely. Talk to people, interview people, get all the pros and cons. Don't just get all the pros because the cons are coming. You need to get all the pros and cons and know what to expect. Again, it's having a level of expectancy so you can be prepared. It's not to scare you, but you need to be better prepared. And then that's going to close the gap, the learning gap a lot quicker, and you can get your deals done faster.
Mm-hmm.
And definitely you have to be a people person. It's a people business. And so you got to be willing to talk to the people, get out there, show your face, pass your cards out. All of that stuff works hand in hand. And that's why I say a lot of people may find out in the beginning, I don't want to do all that. I ain't got the chops for all that. I'm an introvert. I ain't no extrovert. I don't like talking to people. So that's gonna slow you up.
100%. So you said you're more so into single family real estate than commercial. What made you go and say single family is where I want what I want my niche to be?
Well, that was simple. It's about helping families. And so families is at, the core of the need is what I saw because Black people don't own as many homes as white people. And so since the 60s and the fair housing laws that were put in place, we're still seemingly to fight discrimination in housing and fairness, and affordable housing seems to be a prevailing issue from generation to generation, even from where we are or where we've come from the 60s into 2000s. We finding ourselves in those same metrics and those same numbers. And it's like, where's the progress? Well, a lot of times, as they say, when white America has a cold, we got the flu over here. Black people got the flu. It's hitting us doubly hard. And unfortunately, we lose ground. We lose our financial backing. We lose our equity. We lose our houses. Like in the housing crisis of 2008, a lot of people now across the board lost homes. But it really took the Black community back in terms of almost, numbers and stats that was from the 60s. That ain't where we want to be. So my heart and my passion is to helping families attain home ownership. It's generational wealth. Our parents pass, our parents leave us the house. They want to leave us the house, whether we want to move back in it or not. They want it to be passing that wealth or that asset on down to their kids. And that's what it's about. And even if the kids decide to sell the home, that's still an asset that you got to sell or make, some money will come out of it if you don't want to keep it. But, we always seem to have a job of educating and showing people how to do that. So that's where my passion drives me. And that's where I stay in the single family residential side of it all.
100%. Is there particular story that's sticking out to you where you really got to like help a family and it, I don't know, just struck maybe a different nerve because of the particular situation or particular time or anything?
Woo, because you're talking about a lot of years.
It don't have to be the best one, just kind of like a favorite.
Well,
really got to help a family.
So many. I don't know. It's been so many. I would say, for the individual that think they couldn't do it, or they don't think they got enough of what it takes to get a house, having that individual get to the finish line, that's hugely rewarding. Because again, in the beginning, they didn't think they could, or their credit was fine, but they were nervous about it. Their finances was fine, but they still was nervous about it. Guess what? They the first one in their family owning a house because mom and grandma were renting it. So they're a first generational homeowner. That's huge. So to see somebody attain that for the first time or be a first time homeowner in that family, that's huge. Okay. And like I said, that's very gratifying, even over above the money. But there's been some few cases like that. But again, I can't say one that really sticks out that was, choking at my heart. But for me, getting that person that didn't think they could to the finish line, that's huge.
100%, 100%. Okay. Is there so I know there are pre-qualifications and things like that. Like you said, there are people who don't believe they can. Is there kind of like an industry standard? Like, okay, once you get here, you can start looking at homes and real estate or stuff like that, like credit score, finances, or is it just whenever you as a person comes to that place, try to find a real estate agent that can work with you?
Yeah, absolutely. So pre-approval and getting yourself pre-approved by the bank, that's always the first step. Because again, how can I take you out and we shopping for a Toyota, but you really want this Mercedes over here. Well, we got to figure out if your budget is on Mercedes budget. So we don't take people out to look for houses until we've established your budget and your pre-approval process. And then that way you're comfortable with what you said you want your note to be. And the bank is saying, okay, this is how much you can spend. Then I know what I need to be showing you. So it all goes hand in hand. I don't want to just, you call me on the phone, hey, I want to start looking at houses. No, let's see where you qualify at.
Mm-hmm.
You know, what's going to be your budget, where we need to look. That's always a good first step.
Mm-hmm.
And then, you know, a lot of questions that we get all the time is this a good time to buy a house? And I'm going to be honest with you. The answer to that, is it a good time to buy a house, is, are you financially ready? And if you can find a house that you can afford, then it's a good time to buy a house.
100%.
That's how you answer that question. And everybody's at a different stage with that, and we understand that.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So, okay. What are some of the like common things that you see stopping people from getting into the real estate game as an agent?
That stops people from getting into real estate as an agent?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that there are. I mean, I ain't ran into a lot of people that they couldn't get into it.
Oh, really?
No, that's not an issue. As long as you don't have a felon,
Mm-hmm.
you can get into real estate.
Okay. So, maybe not get into real estate. What do you think stops people from, if you saying it's like easy to get the license, what do you
threshold.
think? Yeah, 100% actually like selling houses and things of that nature.
Mm-hmm. What's hard? What stops people from selling homes?
Yeah, 100%.
As a licensed agent?
Mm-hmm.
9 times out of 10, you ain't doing the work.
Mm-hmm.
You haven't built up a customer base.
Mm-hmm.
You're not talking to enough people. This is a numbers game. If you ain't talking to enough people, then you ain't going to close enough deals. Some people get so focused on the one deal they got on the table that guess what? They stop marketing. Mm-hmm. They be like, I'm going to close this in 30 days. I'm going to get this check. I'm good. You can't stop. Because when that one is gone, you on to the next one. And so just because you got a contract or 2 on the table that's going to close and you're going to get paid, you can't have stop talking to people. Because it continuously is all about the next lead, the next client. And so I think some people get comfortable and they stop doing it. And then once they get their check, they be like, where my next client coming from? You cannot stop. You can't stop marketing yourself. You can't get comfortable. You know, unless you just someone that determined, hey, I'm only going to do this part-time. Yeah, if I sell 4 or 5 houses, I'm good. If you're that person, then you ought to be good that you've already said, I'm just going to sell 4 or 5 houses. So you know that your grind is different from somebody that's full-time, and this is what they do all the time. They need to close something every month. So that's up to the individual how much they want to work for it. I would say that's what stops them, how hard they work, really. Yeah, because ain't nobody going to give it to you. You got to really go out here and find it.
100%. 100%. Well, this has been very, very informative for me. I've learned so much.
Good.
Okay. I kind of already asked like a couple of questions I usually ask in closing. So I guess, is there anything that you want to make sure people understand about real estate? Anything you want to lead the people with when it comes to the real estate game?
Again, the dream is free and it looks easy and looks good on social media, but the hustle is sold separately. And when I say the hustle is sold separately, it's a metaphor, but I really mean it. Because when I say it's sold, either you're going to pay for it in time with learning and training, or you're going to pay for it in courses and training. But you're going to pay for it one way or the other. And so, again, you have to be prepared for that. And you're going to pay fees to get started. So, again, the hustle is sold separately. You got to know what you got to pay to get yourself off the ground. It's an investment into your business. And if you're serious, you ought to be willing to do that. So you have to decide where you want to start. It's all up to the individual.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you for
coming
having me
by and giving us this great information. I learned a lot. I know there are going to be a lot of people who learned a lot from this episode.
I hope so. I hope so.
I want to say thank you for all of us. And if you would love to come back, we would definitely love to have you again, because there are a million more questions I have regarding real estate and things like that. So,
well, then can I get my number?
100%.
If anybody listens to this and they have any questions, by all means, contact me, because I don't mind answering questions. I can be reached on my cell phone, 901-690-6795. Again, licensed broker owner. And being a broker simply means that I have real estate agents under me. I can manage other agents.
Okay.
That's what being a broker means. And so I've attained that level of management as a broker. And then also, I teach home buyer education classes. So sometimes people need to understand that, like for the down payment assistance for first-time home buyers, you have to go through an education class. And so I teach those. And so again, we're preparing people to understand the process of financing, credit, and everything that you're going to go through to buy this house. But not only that, we want you to be able to be sustainable in your home. And so there's steps after that to help you sustain your home ownership.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's another thing that I'm passionate about, because to help you get there and then you lose it, that's not the goal. You know what I mean? We want you to keep it, and we want you to know what your options are.
100%, 100%. So, do you want to give your socials out as well? Anywhere else they can find you? We're definitely going to put the links in the description. So
please do. If you
yes,
don't
ma'am.
mind. That would
Yes,
be
ma'am.
great. And let them link up with me. And like I said, follow me, ask questions, whatever it is. You know, I'm here. I'm a native Memphian, born and raised right here in Memphis. So, I mean, you know, I'm here for the people, and I'm here for my community. Again, we want to raise those numbers because
100%.
Black and brown people need homes as well as
100%.
everybody else. And so affordability is important. That's something that we face, is affordability issues because prices are so high.
Mm-hmm.
And then just also fair housing, you know, and discriminatory practices, you know, things that we fought in the 60s, some of that's creeping back up, and we like, how?
Mm-hmm.
So we have to be vigilant about protecting this industry and protecting people's rights, because some kind of way in the political scheme of things, people are trying to take some of that away from us.
Mm-hmm.
So again, we're vigilant about that.
100%, 100%. Like I said, thank you again. We thank you for stopping by, blessing us with this information.
Thank you for having me.
We look forward to having you again. Thank you all for coming by, hanging out with us. We'll see you on the next one.
Sounds good.